The soft morning light filtering through the Georgetown townhouses did little to soothe the deep ache in Leo's bones. He slipped out of a side gate, pulling his jacket tight against the chill, his every movement a stiff protest. Julian Thorne was a name he cursed under his breath, a venomous whisper in the quiet street. The man was all sharp edges and calculated force. He hadn't even let Leo cry. It was ironic. Others came to Washington, D.C. to build empires or find love. Leo had been sent as a political statement, the youngest son of a disgraced Texan oil family, a pawn to ensure his family's quiet compliance with the Thorne dynasty that ran the capital. He was a hostage in all but name. But he knew one thing. Julian, the heir apparent, had a particular taste for men. To survive, to find an anchor in this city of sharks, Leo had decided to offer the only currency he had left. The real question gnawing at him was how Julian had known he'd be at his brother Ethan's house last night. 10 days ago, the situation had felt even more bleak. Leo had used the last of his personal funds to gather whispers and rumors about the Thornes. He learned of Julian's preferences, a closely guarded secret among the city's elite. He was still weighing his options, clinging to the last shreds of his pride, when Marcus, the youngest and most brutish of the Thorne brothers, had cornered him. Marcus was built like a linebacker with the subtlety of a sledgehammer. He had leered at Clara, Leo's sister, who had come with him to D.C. He suggested that for Leo and Clara to truly secure their position, a powerful alliance was necessary. Marcus offered himself as that alliance, proposing a marriage to Clara that he framed as a protective measure. The revulsion had been immediate. Even if he and Clara weren't especially close, he couldn't stand by and watch his only sister be shackled to such a vile man. Leo had deflected, stating that such matters were for the family patriarch to decide. Marcus had left, smug and certain of the outcome. Clara had cried for 2 days. That's when Leo resolved to act. If he needed a sponsor, he would aim for the top. Securing Julian's favor meant he could navigate D.C.'s treacherous currents with ease. He had a handsome face. It was his only real asset. After mapping out the sprawling Thorne family estate, he found a way in, moving through the manicured gardens like a shadow. But the grounds were a labyrinth, and he soon found himself lost. Just as he was about to give up, he spotted a single lit window in a secluded library. A man's voice drifted out, low and magnetic, strangely familiar. As he moved to get a better look, the door swung open. Leo stood frozen in the doorway, his dark clothing making him look like a common thief. Inside, Julian Thorne stood beside another man. Julian dismissed his associate with a nod. His eyes, cold and assessing, locked onto Leo. He picked up a heavy silver letter opener from the desk, his grip casual but menacing. Leo's heart hammered against his ribs as he quickly identified himself as the hostage from Texas. A flicker of recognition crossed Julian's face. He gestured for the aide to leave them. With the image of Clara's tear-streaked face burning in his mind, Leo swallowed his pride. He asked if His Highness would grant him his patronage. The euphemism hung, heavy and humiliating, in the silent room. After a night of detached, almost cruel efficiency, Julian had dismissed him with a cold instruction to improve his skills before seeking him out again. The rejection was more galling than the physical discomfort. Leo dragged his bruised body and ego back to the small apartment assigned to him. He was nursing his wounds for several days when Marcus arrived, waving a formal, legally binding marriage contract signed by the Thorne patriarch himself. Clara wept through the night. Julian was clearly a dead end. Desperate, Leo turned his attention to Ethan, Julian's younger, full-blooded brother. He reasoned that perhaps their tastes were similar. That night, using a detailed map of the townhouse he'd paid a small fortune for, Leo slipped into Ethan's residence. The place was empty. Finding the master bedroom, he waited. Feeling a pang of hunger, he raided the mini-fridge. As he was finishing a small container of yogurt, he heard footsteps approaching. He quickly tossed the container, unbuttoned his shirt to expose a shoulder, and arranged himself on the bed in what he hoped was a seductive pose. The door opened. As a figure emerged from the shadows, Leo slid to the floor, repeating the same shameful plea for patronage. A hand tilted his chin up. He found himself staring into the amused, hawk-like eyes of Julian. It was him. Leo's mouth opened to stammer out an explanation, but Julian's kiss smothered the words. His touch was possessive, his movements fueled by an anger that hadn't been there before. The night was a blur of pain and forced passion. He couldn't stop the tears this time, which only seemed to excite Julian more. He bit Leo's shoulder, a mark of ownership. Julian told him he had instructed him to practice, not to go looking for other men. In the quiet aftermath, Leo gathered his courage and explained Clara's plight, begging Julian to save her. Julian listened, his head resting in the crook of Leo's neck. He finally agreed that he would handle it. He handed Leo an expensive cashmere sweater, his gaze lingering on the bite mark on his shoulder with a strange sort of satisfaction. Julian warned him that if he ever sought out another man, the consequences would be far more severe than a simple bite. Before leaving, Julian mentioned that a driver would deliver some educational materials to his apartment. Back home, Clara saw him limping and rushed to help, her eyes still red and swollen. Leo wiped a tear from her cheek, telling her he wouldn't let her marry that pig. Later, a courier delivered a heavy box. Inside wasn't pornography, but a collection of rare, art house films and illustrated books on human sensuality. The wedding date loomed. Marcus arrived one afternoon, bearing gifts for Clara, his face a mask of lecherous glee. But he was followed by a courier with another announcement, this one public. The engagement of the Thorne family heir, Julian Thorne, to Clara, daughter of the disgraced Texan family. Marcus was apoplectic. This was not the plan. Leo was stunned. He took the press release, staring at Julian's name. An aide explained to Marcus that it was tradition. The heir must marry first. Marcus stormed out, vowing revenge. This was Julian's solution? It was the same cage, just with a different keeper. Leo had to find him. He caught Julian just as his town car pulled up to the estate. He confronted him, his voice shaking with anger. Julian looked tired, still in the tailored suit he'd worn for a day of meetings on Capitol Hill. He explained it was a delaying tactic, the only move powerful enough to override the patriarch's contract with Marcus. He asked Leo to trust him. Just then, Ethan appeared, impeccably dressed. He remarked that his brother must have been in a hurry, rushing back from his duties without even changing. The following days were a tense limbo. Ethan began visiting their apartment, bringing Clara books and small gifts from the city. He made her laugh, a sound Leo hadn't heard in months. A genuine smile bloomed on her face, and Leo realized his sister, a romantic at heart, was falling for the charming younger prince. Anxious, Leo paid a staffer for information and learned Marcus had been confined to his quarters for aggressively challenging the patriarch. He worried Julian had forgotten his promise. One evening, a sleek black car slid to the curb as Leo left a cafe. It was Julian. He looked exhausted. Inside the car, he simply pulled Leo into his arms, holding him close. The quiet intimacy was unnerving. They drove not to the main estate, but to Julian's private penthouse overlooking the Potomac. That night was different, slower, almost tender. Julian told him he was sponsoring a major charity gala for the Cherry Blossom Festival. He wanted Leo to be there. At the gala, they wore elaborate masks that obscured their identities. The air buzzed with power and money. He led Leo onto the dance floor. For a few hours, they were just two anonymous figures, their hands clasped together. Later, by the river, they joined others in releasing illuminated lanterns onto the water. Leo watched as Julian wrote on his lantern before letting it go. Peeking, he saw the words, "May you be safe, always." His heart stuttered. On his own lantern, he quietly wrote, "The same for you." As they walked back through a quieter, torchlit garden path, figures in dark suits emerged from the shadows. They were professionals. A swift, brutal fight erupted. Julian moved with a deadly grace Leo hadn't expected, shielding him. But they were outnumbered. Julian shoved him toward a distant security checkpoint, shouting for him to get help. Leo scrambled up a stone staircase to a terrace overlooking a guarded entrance and screamed for security. One of the assailants broke off, leaping up the stairs after him. Leo braced for the end. But Julian was faster, throwing himself in front of Leo, taking the attacker's knife deep in his side. Uniformed security swarmed the garden. The attackers melted back into the night. At the private hospital, Leo refused to leave Julian's bedside. He sat vigil, watching the steady rise and fall of Julian's chest, the stark white bandages a stark contrast to his pale skin. Guilt was a physical weight. Why would Julian Thorne trade his life for a political pawn? Julian awoke 2 days later. He saw Leo's haggard face and the stubble on his chin, and a weak smile touched his lips. He told Leo he looked awful. Leo wanted to curse him out, but found he couldn't speak. Later, he overheard a hushed conversation between Julian and his head of security. The attack had been staged. The men were Ethan's. It was a ruse to solidify Marcus's trust in Ethan for a final, decisive move. Julian then asked if it was true that Leo had stayed by his side the entire time. The guard's confirmation seemed to settle something in him. A few days later, a frantic call came from Clara. She was at the main estate. Marcus was making his move against their ailing father. Leo raced across the city. The estate was in chaos. He found a horrifying scene in the patriarch's study. Marcus, crazed and desperate, held the old man at gunpoint while Ethan and Clara stood by, horrified. Marcus raved about everything, about the slow-acting poison his mother had been putting in the patriarch's medicine for months, about how the stories of Julian's divine right to lead were lies his own mother had concocted to ruin Julian's mother decades ago. He believed Julian was still recovering and that Ethan was his ally. In the middle of the tirade, the old patriarch gasped and collapsed, his heart giving out. Marcus laughed, a wild, broken sound. He was the new king. From the doorway, a calm voice cut through the madness. Julian remarked that it was time for the dream to end. He was uninjured, flanked by his personal security. He walked to Leo and gently covered his eyes with his hand, shielding him from the view. Marcus, seeing him, screamed for Ethan to act, to kill him. Ethan simply smiled faintly, then moved to Clara's side, pulling her to safety. He told Marcus that his loyalty was never in question. Security swarmed in and dragged the screaming, defeated Marcus away. With Julian now at the helm of the Thorne Empire, things settled. The official story was a tragic health crisis for the patriarch and a subsequent mental breakdown for Marcus. The engagement between Ethan and Clara was announced, a genuine love match. But Leo felt lost, his purpose fulfilled. He went to Julian's towering office to tender his resignation, to tell him he was going back to Texas. He was formal, his posture rigid. He expected a cool, professional dismissal. Instead, Julian came around the desk. He asked for 3 more days. He confessed that the attack was a test, a desperate gamble to see if Leo felt anything for him. He said he had been drawn to him from their very first meeting. Leo countered that he wanted a partner, not a secret. Julian agreed, his voice thick with emotion. He promised that once the empire was stable, he would hand the public duties to Ethan and build a private life with him. He revealed that the original engagement announcement, the one that had so horrified Leo, had been intended to be between the two of them, a plan thwarted by the patriarch's contract. Leo looked into his eyes and saw not a prince or a tycoon, but just a man, vulnerable and sincere. He stepped forward and kissed him. The kiss was not a plea or a transaction, but a promise.